Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone. It is caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown! IND1! 43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Renew now, drives in low, throws up a shot. It doesn't go. Tipped up and in by Anthony Leal. Indiana takes the lead.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
Now, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hey, everybody. Welcome aboard. Appreciate you being with us. Of course, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, powered by Andy Moore Honda and the Autograph app. Just go to, John put the link up. I've almost got that memorized now. link.ag.fan/ISB media. And make sure you find out where unhinged fans get unreal rewards. Download the Autograph app in either Apple app or Google Play today. Welcome aboard our first guest of the day, Greg Ristow, as usual. Greg, how are you? How was your weekend? Seems we may have lost Greg already.
Greg, if you can hear me, reconnect with us, okay?
But, let me go ahead and finish. The Autograph app is where real fans get unreal rewards. The first app to track and reward fans for loving what they love most, turning passion into access and experiences. Like I said, download the Autograph app in either Google app or Google Play, or just download the app link.ag.fan/ISB media. Get everything in one place there. That's a good place to go for that. Man, it was a busy weekend while we wait for Greg to get with us. The Pacers are up 3-1 in the NBA playoffs after they lost the heart and soul of their team. But looks like Greg is with us. Greg, you there?
I'm here, buddy.
Great. How was your weekend?
Weekend was good. Very busy as per usual, but then again, I don't have a real job, so life's okay.
I hear you, brother. Man, I don't have a real job either, but it sure feels like it. I'm not going to lie to you. Busy weekend as well. Things going on all over the place. What is new in the world of Greg Rakestraw?
Well, it's about to be the month of May, which means it's about to be very busy. Week of normal. See my kids at some point in time after Labor Day, because it is a pretty crazy 3-week sprint, both for track activity for me, but also it turns into college championship season. So I do a lot of things for the Horizon League on ESPN Plus. For example, yesterday I did the tennis championships, which were held at Purdue. I'll have their softball championships coming up in a couple of weeks. I'll have their baseball championships coming up week before Memorial Day. Looks like I'll get some NAIA softball with Marion hosting a regional. I've got a weekend set with Indiana State. I've got a couple of games for Butler coming up in the middle of May. So, it is a smorgasbord for me once we get to the month of May.
I can imagine. And this weekend is Derby week. Then we've got the Indianapolis 500 coming up. It doesn't stop. May is just one of the busiest months on the sports calendar, and it doesn't seem like that. The NBA playoffs will still be going on. Speaking of the playoffs, big win for the Pacers as they're up 3-1 in their series.
Correct, and we'll see if they can continue to take advantage of for all 4 games. Down no Damian Lillard last night, and that doesn't guarantee that it's going to be easy. And again, let's acknowledge these teams played 5 times during the course of the regular season. The Pacers took 4 out of 5 games. It may just be a tough matchup for Lucky, but sometimes the breaks go against you. Sometimes the breaks go for you, and it seems that this case is the latter for the Indiana Pacers. They are 1 game away, Jim, from winning their first playoff series in 10 years.
Yeah, that's amazing, but just probably something that team needs. It's a young team still, so there's maybe nothing that could benefit them more than be able to do that and just get that not only the experience but that confidence.
Well, normally, Jim, it's kind of a process. And so let's be honest. I think the fact that this team was the 6th seed and qualified for the playoffs without having to go through the play-in round, I think that was the stated goal, of this group, or at least I shouldn't say the stated goal, but that was kind of the understood. Hey, this is what's going to make for a good season from a fan expectation standpoint. This is the next logical step you have to take. And frankly, that's remember the way it works in the NBA in terms of you almost seem to advance like an extra round year by year as you gain experience. Really the only 2 players, that see playing time of this group that have significant playoff experience are Miles Turner and obviously Pascal Siakam, being a part of the 2019 world champion Toronto Raptors. TJ McConnell maybe has a little bit more before his days of coming to Indianapolis, but that's it. This is a young group. And if you can kind of skip a step this year and not just make the first playoff appearance for this team as it's assembled, but potentially win a round, and then who knows what happens going into the second round. Let's face it, in the Eastern Conference, there was kind of Boston and there was seemingly everybody else. And since the Pacers won't play Boston potentially until the Eastern Conference final, this is a chance to very much kind of be like 1994, where that was a springboard and that was a bit of an unexpected surprise. And it led to a phenomenal run for the next 6-7 years for this basketball team. So I'm hoping that 30 years later, Jim, that history repeats itself yet again.
We will certainly see. That would be great for them, great for the city as things, and kind of a great way to springboard into the Fever as well as they prepare to get their season started with Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston and that crew. A lot of excitement expected there, man. It's got things a buzz going. It's kind of a year-round buzz for Indy.
Here's the thing is that it is amazing to think that you can utter the phrase, you can use a playoff win to springboard into the WNBA season and not be laughed out of the room. But that is exactly kind of the situation that we are in now. Let's face it, Pacers playoff tickets aren't exactly easy to come by either. We know now of the media attention that's been given to Caitlin Clark and to the Indiana Fever and the number of nationally televised games. And now 10 games are going to be shown on WTHR Channel 13 on local NBC, which again is such a quantum leap forward, for that franchise and for the sport. But yes, that's the idea, that in the ultimate state of basketball, now you've got 2 professional teams occupying Gainbridge Fieldhouse that people want to see. That is destination viewing. 41 home games during the regular season. Who knows how many playoff games that the Pacers are going to get. You're guaranteed to get 20 regular season games and hopefully more playoff games from a Fever perspective. Now you truly have excitement for Pacer sports entertainment 12 months a year. And I don't think that has ever been the case, Jim. There clearly have been better days from an NBA standpoint. Even with winning a championship 12 years ago, there's never been a better time for the Fever in terms of the WNBA product.
Yeah, and I was wondering, is any other the NBA franchises are affiliated to the WNBA franchises everywhere. So is that been, I wonder if that's been the case any place.
It's about half and half in terms of independent WNBA franchises and ones that are, kind of co-branded. Obviously, Sparks and Lakers are connected. Mercury and Sun are connected. The Washington Mystics and the Wizards, you can kind of tell by the name, are connected. Liberty and the Knicks to some degree, although what you have seen in a lot of those places, not all, is going to smaller venues. So the Mystics play kind of where the G League team plays in DC, which is kind of a 4,000 seat smaller venue. Although when the Fever are coming to town, they're going back to the big building downtown that seats about 20,000 people. The Liberty in New York don't play as many games. They play some games in Madison Square Garden. They do not play all of their games in Madison Square Garden. But you see this trend now when the Fever are rolling into town. It is, hey, what's the biggest venue we can find? Because everybody is making money off of the phenomenon that is Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, and we'll see how that continues around the league and other places. It's going to be interesting to see that. So looking forward to that as well, and looking forward to seeing what they can actually do as far as success in with this season, upcoming season, because if they're able to turn that into a solid playoff bound team, that's just going to add to the mystique, add to all the excitement, add to everything, especially if you end up with two teams back to back playoffs. It'll be pretty big.
Well, that's what kind of folks in Indianapolis are hoping for. The hope is that you have this potentially transcendent superstar on all three teams if you put the fever in with the Colts as well as the Pacers. So, again, let me explain. Anthony Richardson, we are really judging this off a very limited sample size, but can he be a breakout star in his second season as a quarterback after looking good, but only playing a handful really of snaps in terms of 2023. Obviously, you feel Tyrese Halliburton is that guy. The fact that he is on the next version of the Olympic Dream Team kind of tells you all you need to know. The shot that he hit in the second overtime for the Pacers to win on Friday night, he's that guy. Caitlin Clark is already, again, is she the best player in the WNBA? No. Is she the most well-known player in the WNBA before ever stepping on the floor? Yes. She has the highest Q rating of anybody in the league. And all three of those athletes are basically 25 years of age or younger, and they're all playing for professional sports teams in Indianapolis. So, again, there have been dynamic trios like that before. Peyton Manning, Tamika Catchings, Reggie Miller, but not all at such a young point in their career. And obviously, again, this is no offense to Tamika because she is a better person than she was a basketball player, and she's one of the 5 or 6 best players in WNBA history. There was simply never that level of entrance, of curiosity, of draw that she had compared to what Caitlin Clark has now. So we are thinking we could be entering some serious salad days in terms of Indianapolis professional sports.
It certainly looks like it could be on the way. And then we've got Indianapolis coming up here in a little bit, like I mentioned, about a month away or so from that. What are your duties for that 500?
So for the 500, I am part of the PA crew. So I joke with people, I'm kind of like the can't meet quarterback, the guy, that's going to be first to cut. So I am one of 4 members of the public address staff in terms of being in the booth during the month of May. So Dave Calabro obviously has been doing this for a long time. Alan Bestwick, who has been the voice of NASCAR and IndyCar on NBC, on ESPN. He comes in and does a lot of public address work. Then there's the B crew, which I'm a part of. And then Michael Young, better known as the track dude in Indianapolis, but he travels full-time with IndyCar radio and does a lot of public address work on the circuit. Because of all the different practice sessions, all the different qualifying, there are 4 of us that kind of take turns handling the ins and outs at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And then I will also be a part of the coverage on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan on Grand Prix weekend, on qualification weekend, and on race day. So, Jimmy, I tend to get a captive audience on race day. We have the only live local post-race show that is heard on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan, as well as 93 WIBC and maybe a frequency or two that I'm not aware of under the radio or the Urban One banner. But we have 3 hours of post-race coverage specifically designed for 350,000 people that are exiting the Indianapolis Motor Speedway from 4 until 7 o'clock.
And let me tell you from personal experience, that is exactly a captive audience. I don't even need to go into it, but yeah. And it's actually good because maybe that helps soothe the nerves of everybody, because it's like you get to a point where you're like, just let me out of here. But looking forward to that.
Well, I think that's my training, Jim, of being able to handle Colts crowds when things aren't going well on the post-game show. That translates to the post-race show as well, buddy.
What's up next for you?
All right, so a little high school baseball tomorrow night between Greenfield Central and Pendleton Heights. And then I will have the weekend set at Indiana State, as it has turned into a remarkable year for college baseball in this state. Indiana State is in the top 10 of the RPI. They're in the top 25 of all the major college polls. Purdue is playing exceedingly well. Indiana's playing exceedingly well. And Evansville is on a heater, too. So I really think there is a chance that, and I couldn't tell you how Notre Dame is doing. I'll have them later this month, but there is a chance that 3, 4, or more Indiana baseball teams are in the 64-team field leading into the College World Series in Omaha. So if you're looking for something to kind of latch on to this spring, it doesn't have to all be the Indiana Fever or the Indiana Pacers playoff bandwagon. There's some pretty good college baseball being played around the state as well.
There's a ton of everything, brother. We appreciate you because I know how busy you are, and I hope that you're managing through it, brother. Appreciate you so much.
You got it, Jimmy. I'll talk to you next Monday.
You betcha. Greg Ristow from the Indiana Sports Network, ISC Sports Network. Make sure you give them a follow. We've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. The Todd father joins us next here on Indiana Sports Beat. Don't forget, brought to you by Autograph app, where Autograph is where real fans get unreal rewards. The first app to track and reward fans for loving what they love most, turning passion into access and experiences. You can get all of the information about whether it's Indiana basketball in one spot. Just go to the Autograph app and download that from the Apple App Store or Google Play, or just go to the link.ag.fan/ISB Media. It's important that you add that on there. The Todd father up next. We were both at the basketball action up in Westfield over the weekend, where Indiana Elite were playing, and 3 of Indiana's most prized targets. We'll talk about that and much more when we come back.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market. What's up, Tiger Woods?
What up?
I'm a tired MF.
Are you? How long were you up there yesterday?
Not long. Like 3 in the afternoon. No, or 4. So I don't know. I don't even know. Yeah, just tired.
Yeah. Understood.
They would get up big and like look like insurmountable leads, and then all of a sudden you look up and I'm like, that team's sneaking back in. They started goofing off. They started goofing off.
Who did they end up playing in the final?
Well, it wasn't a tournament.
Oh, it wasn't. So they just played 4 games or whatever.
Yeah. They did not play this one team though that has a kid named Nico Bundalo, who he's like a 6'8". They list him as a forward, but he was playing guard, forward, whatever. And
where was he from?
I think Ohio. But he can get up and shoot over people.
Really?
Smoothly. I'm going to grab another cup of Joe.
About 30 seconds.
How long?
30 seconds.
All right.
I'll go ahead and pull us back in.
Now, fresh seafood. Chop Shop Market and Table has the largest selection of in-house made products around and everything you need to make a gourmet meal at home. Or pick out a tomahawk steak or a grouper filet and enjoy it cooked to perfection in Chop Shop Steakhouse. Chop Shop Market and Table, a part of the Wild Food Group, is your butcher, baker, and fish house, no matter where you live.
This segment is brought to you by MyJumpShot.com. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. It was a pretty nice one. For those of you that didn't have to do anything and didn't have to spend your weekend indoors, I know that the Todd father and myself were both on Saturday up in Westfield for the tournament or the basketball action that was going on up there. It was not a tournament. It was just a showcase. But there was a lot happening there, Todd. Besides Indiana Elite, Micah Shrewsbury's kids were there playing. So he got to be there, which is unusual because this is a dead period.
Right.
Where coaches can't go. But he has a legitimate, reason to be there. Not you can't recruit, but it's always nice to be in the same building with someone of your top recruits and just, give them a wave or whatever. But yeah, it's not the same. But there was a lot going on, a lot of good basketball, a lot of good basketball players. And then, of course, Indiana Elite is who we watched most with Braylon Mullins, Trent Sisley, and Malachi Moreno, all of which are different players, different position players, bring differences to their games. But getting to see them live and in person was good. Also, I want to mention saw Xavier Robinson. I did not get to meet him. Did get to meet his dad, which was great. I know that you know that group, and you got to talk to Mr. Robinson as well.
Yeah, it was a great weekend to be able to see local talent and then the guys that you're talking about. Malachi Moreno kid is unbelievable. But yeah, overall it was really good basketball. Like those teams, AAU has progressed throughout the years and they're smarter about how they do things and how many games you end up playing and that stuff. But they're also well coached. I mean, they're putting more money into these things where the coaches are a little higher quality than just dads like it used to be, 15 or 20 years ago. So it was good basketball. I don't know if we're specifically singling out any players, but the surprise of the tournament for me was Braylon Mullins. Like, I knew he was good. I knew he has a reputation of a shooter, but he's more than just a shooter. Like he's taller than I thought he was, more athletic than I had understood that he was. And yeah, he can definitely shoot it, but he brings more to the table than he's got a toughness. He's kind of got a little bit of a gritty it factor. That's I think you kind of only see that when you watch him play live a couple times and, you see what kind of player they are. But yeah, I thought Braylon Mullins stood out to me as the surprise for me.
I agree. Because I hate to say this, I said this to him, but it's meant as a compliment. But when you look at him, he's not physically imposing. He's still just like any high school kid. Hell, like I was. Hell, he's in better shape than I was. But need to grow as far as putting some strength on. But man, he's still already above other players around him. His length. His ability to do things, control the basketball, control what's going on. That he's got some talent, man. He really, really does. And of course, they all do. Like I said, different toolboxes. Trent was battling in the paint. He scored in double digits, I think, in every game. Trent Sisley, and it was a mix. His was a mix of points in the paint and 3-pointers. I know he's either, I think, the last game or the second to last game. He had 3 threes in addition to his paint points. So inside outside game, which is great, what you want to see. And then you mentioned Malachi Moreno. Dude is a human eraser. I almost laugh at some. I was going back and watching some of the videos, and but it's not just the blocks. It's the altered shots he causes. And I remember seeing one guy come in and you can just tell he's like, oh no, I'm not even going to try this. And he starts looking around for a pass to someone to pass to immediately. He affects the game, man. He's a 7-footer, but he is also very athletic. I saw him bring the ball up the floor a lot, and he's developing a 3-point shot. He is going to be a dangerous weapon.
Yeah, he is. He's huge for one. But it's like you kind of get this mental picture, and it might just be me, but it also might not be. Like when you say, or you hear someone describe him as a human eraser, I kind of picture a shot blocker that's just big and huge and not all that skilled. And that's just my perception of when someone says that. If that's the first thing someone says about a player, they generally are less skilled, I guess I should say. But that's not the case with this guy. And you're right. Like, he altered every shot that came into the lane when he was in there. But he also did so many, like, he runs the floor. He can play out on the wing a little bit. Of those guys, there's a lot of guys who are big like that you kind of have to try to figure out how they're going to fit into the NBA someday down the road. Not this guy. Like, he where he's going to fit in, and he's already got some skill to score from the outside. I doubt they'll use a ton of that. Like, I don't think he'll end up being a huge 3-point shooter in college, but he's capable of doing it. And yeah, you're right. Like, he ran the floor well. I saw him handle the ball. He dribbled all the way down the floor and dunked on 3 guys at once. Like, he has all the tools. He's a program changer. Like, there's at this point right now, I would say Braylon Mullins. I actually was thinking it while I was watching him, so I was trying to compare some of the things he was doing. And yes, I understand this is kind of a ridiculous statement because of their age differences, but he's very similar to Dalton Connect, just a much skinnier version of Dalton Connect right now. So if you took Dalton Connect, 5 years ago, when you're roughly the same age as what Braylon Mullins is now, you see a lot of that Dalton Connect in him, and that's obviously a good thing to have. Dalton Connect took the world by storm this year in college basketball, and this Braylon Mullins is a lot like him.
Yeah, and it probably won't take him as long to do that, but that partly could be because of a better opportunity that comes along for him sooner to do that, because that he is going to get that opportunity wherever he lands. I think Indiana is in extraordinarily good position on him to get him. Whether they can get all 3 of these guys, I don't know. Moreno is going to have visits, he told me, to Arkansas and Kentucky. He's from Georgetown, Kentucky, which, if you're not familiar with that, is right next to Lexington, basically. Yeah. So he's a Lexington kid, but I don't know that he is attached to that. Obviously, he's playing AAU ball in Indiana with a group of guys from Indiana. They have a bond. And I'll try to get John to find a clip from Braylon Mullins where I asked him about the potential of all 3 at the same school, which that stuff never happens. It's always a pipe dream for fans, but there's a shot at this one. How good a shot, we'll find out once it happens. But because 2 of the players are being pulled in different directions, I think Mullins is really the closest to being, there's no for sure thing, but his highest percentage is probably to Indiana, in my opinion, but that is an opinion only. And then you've got Moreno, like I said, who is going to get pulled with a little Kentucky pull, and Arkansas now, the Calipari being down there. Trent Sisley, of course, being a big IU recruit, but also Purdue is working hard to land him. So that if they could get all 3 of those, that would be a nice little mix of talent to bring in, because you're bringing in 3 different type players.
Totally. Like, you are correct. And honestly, I'm surprised that doesn't happen more often, that more groups of players like that you could tell those 3 guys enjoyed playing together. They looked for each other. They had an overall very unselfish team for an AAU team. So yeah, I get what you're saying with that. It would be awesome. It's fun to watch those guys play together. And the idea of possibly them all going to one school, but it just different guy. This is the one thing that I do appreciate about, that situation not happening all that often is a lot of these kids evaluate the situation that's best for them. And the possibility of Indiana needing or Kentucky needing or Purdue needing, a big guy, a shooting forward wing and another wing in Sicily, all at the same time where they're all going to step right in and play right away. Because that's really what these kids, yes, I know the NIL is a huge part of it, like probably at least 50% part of the decision now, but the other vast majority of that decision is based off of how they're going to fit and early playing time. None of these guys are planning on going to a school and not having an immediate impact. And so it's hard to have those openings all at one school at one time. So that's why I think that doesn't happen as much as.
And not only that, and now I think, and it might be even a bigger point, is that most teams are probably not going to be bringing in more than 3 recruits. I don't think that they should. I think that should be the mark. You're not going to want to bring in more than 3 freshmen because you're either going to have a team with a core already in place, and you're not going to want to replace, and then whoever departs, and there are always going to be departures now we see from whatever team we're talking about, but you're going to want to go into the portal and replace that with experience and guys that have just made a jump and the best talent you can. So the days of, and I'm just using Purdue as an example. They're bringing in 6 freshmen next year. That's going to catch up to Matt Painter. He's going to have to adapt to the portal a little sooner, I think. Hence why Mason Gillis was, people keep saying, well, Purdue fans say he wasn't pushed out. Yeah, he was. There was not room for him. There was not room for Ethan Morton. Ethan Morton was not that big of a loss, but losing Mason Gillis to me is a loss to them. You see where he landed at Duke, but he was their 4th best free throw or 3-point shooter, and he made more threes than Braden Smith did. So you're not going to purposely get rid of a guy like that normally.
Yeah. And hey, look, like it's an adjustment. Like I know you say, and I'm not dissecting how you said it, but I mean, like, I know you say Matt Painter is going to have to adjust, and that might be true. It might not be true. Like, we don't know that. Like, his system's different. I think we all do agree. Painter handles these situations differently. They're more into the long-term development of guys, which in turn takes them out of recruiting some of the higher-rated players across the country because they're wanting to come in and make an immediate impact and be there right away. And look, I spoke with an assistant coach at a Power 5 school that I'm friends with that they actually said, look, if it's a high school kid and he's not rated in the top 50, he's better off to go to a smaller school where he can make a big impact and then transfer in somewhere. That they are not. Power 5 schools are looking at high school kids that are not in the top 50 as almost a last resort. We'll take them if we don't do what we want to do in the portal. And any experience at the college level is kind of trumping right now, kids that are rated in that, I'll say 75 to 200 range of that's still very highly rated. There's an enormous amount of great players that have come from that range of ratings over the years, and they're just not going to get the opportunity. They're going to have to go to a smaller school and prove themselves, and that's the way college basketball is now. It's just different. I
think I missed a break, so let me hit that real quick. When we come back, we'll hear from Braylon Mullins, and with the Todd father is here coming up. soon is Dustin Dopirak as well. We've got the Pacers to talk about, so all kinds of good stuff going on. We've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by myjumpshot.com. And the man you see right before you. If you knew anybody that man, woman, boy, child, elementary school, doesn't matter. They could be in second grade. They could be a phenomenon. You never know. Go to myjumpshot.com and
Learn
get that
early.
thing going right. Learn early, learn right early. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're looking for a home in the
You didn't
I'm
miss a
fired up.
break, Jim. Just to clarify, you didn't miss a break. You're fine.
Oh, well, I'm confused.
At least you got the right day this time.
Barely.
Good morning, Dustin.
Good morning, you guys.
I hate these off. Monday is a different schedule than every other day of the week by 10 minutes, and it screws me up. I'm like, what segment are we in?
All right. Hey, Jim, I got to go. You know what I got to do today.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Roll on, brother. I'll talk to you
Yep.
soon.
Yep. See you,
Have a
Dustin.
good one, Todd.
See you, buddy. Yep.
Yeah.
We'll
Hey,
save
Jim,
that for the second segment. But go ahead, Dustin.
I was just going to say, just so you know, for talking discussion purposes, obviously we can talk Pacers, but I wasn't here. I had to go to a funeral yesterday, so I'm watching.
Sorry about that.
Thank you. But I'm like I obviously seen the box score from last night, and I watched most of the first three quarters. Before just after because we didn't get back home until about midnight, so I watched what I could last night before we went to bed. So I picked up on a bunch of it. So I can discuss, but I wasn't there.
We can talk about it in generalities. That's close
Sure.
enough. I mean, it's
they're up 3-1. It's a big, it's obviously a big deal. But just so like you don't ask me a question and I shock you with that one.
never. Oh man. Oh, I need a different job. This one's I'm just so tired, man. These 7-day weeks are killing me.
Yeah, that Braylon Mullins, I'll just save it I'll keep it up, Jim, just whenever you have, whenever you want to use it, it's there, just to let you know. So yeah, go ahead and bring us back in 20 seconds.
Days. That's right. 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door.
This segment is brought to you by Freethink Apparel. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Freethink Apparel and Promotions. Whether you need 24 T-shirts for the upcoming family reunion or 200 for this season's recreational softball league, Freethink Apparel meets your printing needs. Their team of industry experts work with you to design a professional-looking, sales-generating web store for your custom-designed apparel or promotional merchandise. From large corporations to small businesses, high school, sports teams, to national accounts, Freethink Apparel delivers no matter where you are. Visit freethinkapparel.com today and get printing. And I'm going to get a code for you guys as well to save some money, whether you have a small business and you're getting uniforms for your companies or softball league, like I said, or baseball, whatever the case may be. They got that and tons more of things there. Welcome in Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Star, Pacers beat writer. And good news for the Pacers. They're up 3-1, man, in a series. And I saw a stat the other day that the winner of game 3, which obviously we're past that with game 4 being played, but the winner of game 3 usually wins the series 73% of the time. And the Pacers have been put in good position and good fortune by the bad fortune of the Milwaukee Bucks. Not only not having Giannis Antetokounmpo up to this point, but then they don't have Damian Lillard. And it's like, what the hell? It's like, wow, you just took two of the best players in the league out of the lineup. And so good fortune for the Pacers.
Sure, yeah. I mean, but obviously they had to put themselves in position for that good fortune to matter. Obviously they were already up 2-1. Certainly, just they've been aided by the fact that Giannis hasn't been a part of this. But Damian Lillard was spectacular up until in game 1 and game 2. Chris Middleton has had a phenomenal series. There's still a lot that the Pacers had to get done. They knocked down 22 threes last night. Obviously, I wasn't in town had to get out of town for a funeral, but was have caught up with it. And just learned the shooting is phenomenal. Basically, the shots they were able to make and just taking advantage. I mean, the Pacers have sometimes not been good at taking advantage of other teams' misfortune. There have been a lot of games they've lost over the last few years when somebody's been hurt. When you go into it thinking, well, they can't lose this game, that guy's out, and they lose it. And so they were still able to take advantage, still able to ride the wave, still able to really execute. So did a lot of smart things, but put themselves in great position. They've got 3 chances, going forward to close this thing out, and still don't know, if and when Giannis is going to be back. Don't know if Damian Lillard's injury is going to continue. So a lot still on the board there, a lot still possible. My point is, I'm sorry. They've done a really good job of just executing and taking advantage of the fact that the Bucks are down, that they're weary, that they're missing guys. You still got to do the smart thing and do a lot of right things to win games, and they've managed to do that. So it's been a really impressive series for these guys so far.
Yeah, and I talked earlier about how important it is to this Pacers team. They're young. I'm not going to call them inexperienced, but they don't have a ton of playoff experience. So they are young in that regard. So this is huge for that team, for this organization right now, to this series. If they can win this series, and as Greg Rakestraw mentioned earlier, get to the next round for the first time in a decade, again, that just adds momentum to what they're doing and what they've done.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think my view was they just had to make it. They just had to make it in the playoffs, and anything they did on top of that was gravy from an organizational standpoint. I mean, if they came in and got blitzed 4-0, they still would have done what they had to do. That might not have left a great taste in just fans' mouths after that, but they would have at least, you would have to say, okay, you made the step that you had to make. You're on pace. You're at the very least on schedule for where you want to be, and you're probably still even ahead of schedule. I mean, I think you're still, it was 21-22. They were a 25-win team. They've had lottery picks the last 2 years. Top 10 picks the last 2 years. They hadn't had top 10 picks in consecutive years since 1989, 88, and 89. That's how consistent they'd been. So I mean, this is the first time in a long time they've had to reset. Kind of start over, break the roster down a little bit, and just kind of come at it with a whole new group, and to be able to do that in 2 years, and you're in a playoff series, and you're a top 6 seed, is a big deal to start with. And I think really what they want to do is just, if you were to say what's your goal, is make noise. Well, you've made noise. If you've gone up 3-1, you've made noise, basically. And so even if they collapse after this, I think they will have added some gravy to this and some momentum. But I don't think they're going to collapse. I think there's a really good, I don't think they're going to lose all 3 of these, going forward and not make it out. I mean, unless Giannis comes back on Tuesday and he's all world and Lillard's back and, they're just a totally different team and they go wild. I don't see it right now because, the Bucks are just losing momentum and losing air. And so I'd be really surprised if that happens. But even if it does, you have to look and say, okay, you went and proved you could do something in a playoff series. So you are ahead of pace. So
yeah, and you just mentioned gaining steam for the Pacers, or how much the Bucks, the rest of the team. That's just, I cannot imagine the blow that sends to the entire team when the 2 guys that have led you all year long are not going to be there.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously injury is a part of it. You have to be prepared to have a roster that can win without anybody. And they still have guys. I mean, Milwaukee does have, the Pacers have more depth, but the Bucks do have some. I mean, you're not running out, to use JJ Redick's term, plumbers out there. I mean, Malik Beasley is a terrific shooter. Patrick Beverley is, world-class defensive pest, so those are your 2 guards, and those guys aren't bad. And it obviously helped worse. It was a bigger problem when Bobby Portis gets kicked out. Early in the game, gets in a fight with Andrew Nembhard. Nembhard gets 1 tech, Bobby gets 2, throws a punch, and, that's the end of it, basically. When you were having Portis play the 4 for Giannis, I mean, Portis is a guy that, I believe he was a finalist for 6th man of the year. I mean, Naz Reid ended up winning from the Timberwolves, but, Bobby Portis was right there. So when you're putting out a lineup that's Beasley, Beverly, Middleton, Portis, Lopez, you still got 5 legit NBA starters in there. I mean, you're missing 2 superstars, but you've got 5 guys that that they would start anywhere else too. But there's once you dig into that, and it's Danilo Gallinari is your power forward, then you've got problems. And that's really what happened in Milwaukee last night. Is that once you lose that guy too, then you're digging into guys who haven't played. Because I don't think Gallinari had been in the series, at all. So that changes the momentum a lot, and that really, knocked them sideways.
Yeah, and now on the other side of that, you've got the Pacers who are fueling off of this and gaining momentum and gaining just feeling better about themselves, about their game. Although, that overtime game the other night, go into it thinking, all right, they're without Antetokounmpo. They should be able to get through this all right. And man, that could have been that was nearly a disaster for the Pacers.
Yeah, no, it really was. It was, because obviously you come in having won, lost game 1, win game 2, you've got the momentum going into your building. You haven't had a home game, since I think 2019. You haven't come in with momentum since 2019 or 2018. So when they had that 7-game, really thrilling series against LeBron James's Cavs, it had been that long since they'd come in with that kind of momentum. And so if you were to squander it, you're down 2-1 in your building and you're just grasping for air. So that would have been a really big issue, but they really came through down the stretch. I mean, I think on a night when Tyrese Halliburton was having a rough game shooting, I think he was 1 of 12 from 3. He had, basically he hits the big bucket. I mean, and they other guys that had rough nights shooting really came through. And so for them to really hang on in that moment was a big deal. The crowd really lifted them up. I thought also they obviously took advantage of the, just the atmosphere and everything. But it's, I mean, that was a huge deal win for them. And then, so, I thought, sitting in the press box, I was like, I don't think they win, game 4, just the way they had to hang on for dear life to win this one. I don't think they win game 4, but in the 2 days in between, you find out Lillard and Giannis are out. So now you've got more momentum, it just comes to you. But they did a great job of fighting and scrapping and clawing. I mean, they had 19 offensive rebounds to turn those into 32-second chance points. I mean, that was a team that really wanted it, regardless of what was going wrong.
And so now the Pacers' job is to keep this momentum up because they just need to win 1 game out of 3, which sometimes when you look at it that way, that's not good because you can relax a bit. So, we've got 3 games to win 1 game. The goal should be to just attack. And are they at Milwaukee next?
Yeah, it's 2-2-1-1-1. So it's so they go to Milwaukee for 5, they come back for 6, and if there's a game 7, I mean, well, there doesn't have to be game 6. They can go up there and close it out. But if they don't close it out up there, it's back in Gainbridge, I believe, on Thursday, and then Saturday, Sunday, I think is game 7.
And so that's something that they can either lock up and not have to worry about that, which would I'm sure that the team and the Pacers fans would like to see that way. It also gives them a little more time to rest if they need it. Or I don't know. Is this a team that would rather rest or keep playing?
I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I think, generally keep playing. I think momentum is pretty good. I mean, they don't, they don't have lingering injuries right now. They've had a pretty clean sheet. Tyrese Halliburton had some back spasms on yesterday, apparently before game time. I didn't, like I said, I wasn't there for it, but I know that he showed up on the injury report, with back spasms, and ended up playing and ended up shooting better than he had in weeks, I think, hitting 5 out of 12 threes. So they're not in a position where they need somebody to heal up, where someone's got bumps and bruises. And I think as I understand it, I mean, they have a chance to start early, because if the Knicks are up 3-1 in that series, so if the Knicks close out and the Pacers close out, they could start this weekend. And so, it'd start in New York. But in that case, I mean, they could do that a little bit earlier, and, there wouldn't be a huge big gap. So if they win on Tuesday and the Knicks win, I think the Knicks are tonight, then they could end up going in New York, Friday, Saturday. So they could get a couple of days off and not be too rusty. I mean, I don't think you want too much rust. I don't think you'd want a week off or anything like that. A couple of days wouldn't kill them, I guess. But, they would also, I think, be fine, just rolling it back a couple of days early.
Yeah, and I was surprised, man. The Knicks, I didn't realize that they were that good. They're close to being just rolling on to the next round of the playoffs.
Yeah, Jalen Brunson's been phenomenal. I think a bunch of things there. Obviously, start with the idea that the East is really, really even, and especially with Milwaukee being what they are.
Except for Boston.
Yeah, except for Boston. I mean, Boston is way out ahead of everybody. But, Boston has shown some, vulnerability in playoff situations. And obviously, they lose game 2 to Miami. And so they haven't rolled through it yet. I think they're 2-1 going into tonight. And so, they have a chance of they still, have to prove they can beat Miami. They didn't do it last year. Obviously they were favored in that series and ended up falling behind 3-0 and having to fight all their way back to make that a 7-game series. So Boston still has some demons they have to work through. Still has some ghosts out there in terms of not getting as far in playoffs as they would, as they should. But they were the team that was way out ahead of everybody. But basically going into this, you were like, well, anybody else could be the team they play in the East, or could be a problem. Could advance and make some noise because everybody's close to even. I mean, it was down to the last day where that seeding could have shook it up dramatically. But Brunson's been fantastic, and OG has been a big deal. Obviously Anunoby just really adds an element for them. Tom Thibodeau is a defensive guy, and Anunoby allows him to do some things defensively that just really enhance their team. So the Knicks can be a major problem, and so they look really good. I mean, obviously they got that really fortunate win in game 2, where they were down by 5 with 20 seconds left, and got the 6 to turn, hit a 3, got the 6 to turn over, hit another 3, turned that game around in 15 seconds, and they shouldn't have, because there was 2 fouls that should have been called against Tyrese Maxey. The Sixers just they attempted to call timeout, they didn't get it. They got some bad breaks in that circumstance, and the Knicks got lucky there. But all the same, they came in, they've been just hammering people, and again, Brunson's playing like an all NBA guy. I mean, he's been just terrific. So they've got an all-star, all NBA guy, and they've got some other pieces that are coming around. Even though Julius Randle's out, a lot of things have come together for that team.
We could see a replay of Mars Blackman appearance at a Knicks Pacers playoff. Mm-hmm. That would be something, huh?
Be really bringing it back. Yeah, big time. So,
hey, Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Star with us. We've got to take a quick break. Of course, brought to you by Free Think Apparel Promotions. Go to freethinkapparel.com today and let them take care of all your printing needs. promotional items, whether it's shirts or merchandise, period, in that way. They've got everything they can do. They can wrap your car, for God's sakes. If you want to put an IU wrap around your car, or a Purdue wrap around your car, or a Pacers wrap, or a Dustin Dopirak wrap. How would that be, boy? We can get a specialized Dustin Dopirak app and have that on people's cars just driving all over Indianapolis. That'd be something.
Yep. There you go. Terrific.
We've got more coming up, and we'll be back with it right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market. Oh, man. This is a subject I don't know anything about or know much about, so you're right there with me on this. But those college athletes that first I want to talk about LeBron when we come back.
Oh boy, what do we got?
I'm now just isn't this the second year in a row they got swept out?
They're not swept out. They won game 4.
Oh, okay.
Durant got swept out. Durant got swept out. They that's their second year in a row. I mean, the Lakers made the Western Conference Finals last year.
When did they get swept by somebody?
Well, they got swept in the Western Conference Finals, but they got to.
Oh, that's right. It was Denver. That Denver series confusing me.
Say that again.
I said that Denver series confused me.
Yeah, but no, I think who'd they beat? They were a 7, and they beat a couple teams last year, but I think they went down 4. That was when you kind of knew like Denver had that look. That you're like, man, like Denver might be, and I think last year we really just as an NBA fan base, everybody looked at Denver like, they're not that good, but they're like, no, they're that good. And Joker's that good, like he he's not the most chiseled athlete that's ever played this game, but he is just a genius, like he is an absolute incredible player. So, but they were up. Denver was up 3-1. I mean, like I still think Denver's gonna, go in game 5 and put them away. But the Lakers, showed a heartbeat on Saturday night. So, but yeah, I mean, the Suns went down 4-0, and that's an issue. The Phoenix might have to break that thing up with Durant and Booker and Beal. So, Minnesota looks good.
Timberwolves. Oh man, I was in the gym all weekend.
Which gym for what?
Westfield.
Oh yeah.
AAU ball.
EYBL?
No, it was just it was not the 3SSB or EYBL. It was just I guess an independent.
New York to LA? NY to LA? Or something else?
This was hoop group who put it on.
Okay.
So I don't think, because there were teams from different. There was Indiana's Elite, an Adidas team. Then there was
583-091. Okay. Go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details. This segment is brought to you by Hoosier Hanks East. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday, getting your week started. I hope you had a great weekend. Brought to you by Hoosier Hanks East, located off College Mall Road in Bloomington. Hoosier Hanks has an array of custom pizzas, Stroms, baked wings, mac bowls, fresh salads, and so much more. Dine in, carry out, or have Hank cater your next event. Hoosier Hanks East is a great place to watch the games or gather with your team after the game. Use their exclusive party room for your next gathering. Order online at HoosierHanks.com or visit them 1285 South College Mall Road. And Dustin Dopirak from Indy Star with us. The Lakers are still on life. They're on life support right now, but they you mentioned in the break they did get a win in that series against Denver, that's a repeat of the Western Conference Finals from last year. in which they did get swept. But the Nuggets are they're at their peak right now, so it's not surprising to see them beating up on teams. But LeBron, it's like, all right, if they lose this series again, let's say they lose it 4-1, that'll be 8-1 over 2 seasons to the Nuggets. You know, where does LA go from there? Where does LeBron go from there?
I mean, it's weird to say this because he's 39, and you're just like, the fact that he's even I mean, how many players even made it this far? How many players made it this far and are still really, really good? I mean, like you have some moments where you're like, oh man, he missed that shot or he didn't finish that opportunity. In game 2 and game 3, I mean, they had 2 really good chances to close that game out. Those games out and didn't. And Denver was phenomenal. Obviously, I think Murray, the game winner by Murray in game 2 was incredible, just like an absolutely incredible shot. And the Lakers seemed to be just totally in control of that game and lost it. So they're in a weird spot. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where he's at contractually. I don't see him going anywhere else at this point. Just because, I mean, like, I just feel like at his state of play, like, where would you want to be other than LA? Like, I can't imagine him just deciding he wants to go back to Cleveland, or something like that. Like, what's really the other opportunity? I can't see him saying, like, I want to go to Golden State and run it back with, a bunch of other guys that are 35. Like, that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense for me, either. And so it's just, I don't know. I don't know that there's a sensible place for him to go other than keep trying with this and hope you move the pieces around. But like, you can't go to Denver, like, it's not like he can say, like, hey, Nikola, let's me and you join forces and with Jamal Murray. I mean, like, I know, like, LeBron has a history of being, deemed a front runner, obviously going back to going to Miami in the first place. But I kind of think he's just going to keep running it back until he doesn't want to play anymore. And I don't know how much longer that's going to be. We'll see. If I imagine, like he does every year, he'll, throw something out there about, maybe this is it for me, and then it'd not be it for him. But he's still, I mean, I would vote him for all NBA. He's 39. It's incredible. Like, for as much as, like, you can be annoyed at this guy in general, and the fact that he just will not step out of the spotlight, the fact is he's still good enough to be in the spotlight. He still does absolutely incredible things at the age of 39 when so many other guys, his body's to break down. I mean, there's still moments when you're like, that's something nobody else in this league can do. Like the degree to which he can be like a freight train coming down, just coming down the floor is incredible. He's still high on the list of guys you most want to not get in their way if he's coming downhill in transition. Like, yeah,
you have to respect him. He's one of the greats. I mean, that's without saying. And I think he's waiting for his son, but his son is not NBA caliber. To be quite honest, he's just
at the moment. No, yeah, I mean, right. Yeah, no, I mean,
boom, just lost Dustin just like that. And then what else was I going to say about LeBron? Daggone it. Oh, did not get that written down. His flopping.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
You're quick, man. You're quick.
Yeah, I think that was user error there. I think I accidentally hit the X button. Anyway, I think, and Bronny doesn't seem to be. I mean, like, we haven't, I didn't get to watch a lot of them, this year. And obviously his numbers don't suggest somebody that should be going in the NBA. I mean, hopefully, like, he's testing the waters, just hopefully LeBron tells him, just be serious about this and doesn't try to just, get him in on his coattails, because you don't want that. I mean, like, obviously, end of the day, like, it would be nice, I'm sure, as a dad, to have, some time with him, in the league. But, you obviously want to set him up for long-term success. You don't want him getting in somewhere where he's just in the league because of his dad. And then, after that, he's got to go to Europe, immediately thereafter, because he's just not, as developed as developed as he needs to be. I don't think it's impossible for him to turn into a useful NBA player, with a couple more years of college. I don't think that's out of the question. But he's obviously never going to be, his dad. but he can be, he might be able to be a useful player. He might be able to be a useful role guy. And, you could see how long guys can make it. Like just doing little things and doing them well. I mean, I imagine just, basketball IQ for Bronny's got to be off the charts. I've heard nothing but great things about him personally. And, being a good teammate matters. Being a guy that can do little things matters. Being a guy that can make high IQ plays, matters. But, you do also have to have the talent and the development. You got to be able to come in and hit shots. You got to be able to come in and defend somebody. That's the basics. If you're really, really good at one or the other, you have a chance without being that great at the other thing. But, on a basic level, you got to be able to hit some shots and you got to be able to guard somebody. And it's just, he's got to be able to prove that. And so hopefully, if he's going to go through, the process, he's going to learn a lot of things. I never disparage people the idea of going through the process. I mean, if you can get a combine invite, you can learn a lot in a combine, and you can go home right after that and say, I'm playing another year of college ball. But just if you get to go do the testing, you get to go do the interviews, you got to go play pickup, for a couple of days. And, that can really, really help you. And that can really, that can really spring you forward. I mean, Ben Shepherd is in the Pacers rotation right now because he did a great job in the combine. He did phenomenal work in the games themselves. Not everybody participates in the games, after the testing, but he did awesome in games. And then they brought him in for a workout and he just ran around like a crazy person and chased every loose ball he could get. And they were like, that's who we want with our 26th pick. We've got a lottery, pick. So we can get somebody like Jarris Walker with a higher ceiling, but we could use somebody that's going to come in and do the dirty work right now. And it is advanced enough to play what we want to play right now. He won a spot that way. And I'm not saying Bronny's going to do that right now, but he can at least learn what it takes and how you make an impression on people and things like the combine and how you become the kind of player that the NBA wants. And so hopefully, he takes the, feedback and says, I'm not there yet, and figures out what it's going to take. And, his dad can't force him through that process. Again, I hope, just for the sake of people being able to enjoy things, that'd be really nice for them. They seem like good enough people that it'd be nice to see the James family get to see them play together. But you can't force it just for that opportunity. Bronny's got to be set up to be a player that can last, and maybe that's possible. But he's still got to prove it, and I don't think he proved it all the way in your freshman year, and a lot of people don't prove it in your freshman year. So he's probably going to need more time.
And I don't think he's even picked a college yet where he's going to be playing. He left.
He's in the portal. I mean, he wouldn't be the first person to go to the test the waters and go in the portal at the same time. That's not new in our stage.
No.
So,
but yeah, where he's going to end up, and say he comes back. I'm expecting him to come back. Don't know where he's going to. Is he going to go back to USC? But yeah, I'm not sure about that. The one thing about LeBron, the only thing that is really he has to be the biggest flopper in the history of the NBA. I mean, I was watching, there was a clip the other night where someone kind of grazed the top of his head, and he goes out like someone took a hammer and just dropped it on him. And I'm like, oh, come on, man, stop with that.
I
want to say, do you think that anybody is buying that?
Yes. Sadly, yes. I mean, that's the unfortunate part. I think that, at the end of the day, officiating the NBA is super hard. I mean, officiating basketball is super hard. I mean, every sport is, but baseball, the game, at least, it's piece by piece. You watch this thing and you watch that thing, and, you watch the pitch come in, you watch the play at first, sometimes you're gonna be right. Sometimes you're gonna be wrong, but there's probably not going to be something happening way over there that's a problem that you missed. Basketball, though, anything can happen anywhere. And you've got to, keep in mind on everybody that's making contact. And part of what happens, the general basis of basketball is you go tell the ref, hey, that guy's grabbing me. It's as incumbent on, coaches and players to work the officials in basketball as it is in any other sport. And so it's annoying to watch as fans because you're like, oh, you guys are all complaining. But they do. Guys that you would say, if you're around them just to hang out, or some of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, and forthright people. They, like it's incentivized, and there's almost no ways to disincentivize it because that's just the nature of the sport. It's 5 guys 5-on-5 going after each other. Something could be a foul anywhere, on the floor. And so you're selling it and you find out selling it is incentivized. And, like I literally saw it work, in LA, when the Pacers played LA. I mean, like LeBron and AD were unhappy about something that happened, and they came in and they basically had a conference with the official and said, this guy's doing this and that guy's doing this and this guy's doing that, and they're all fouling us. And the free throw disparity was off the charts. I mean, I'd have to go look it up right now, and it was like 30 or like, it was 47-12. It was nuts. And so, like, obviously LeBron has cachet, and basically, like, if he's complaining, he's respected because, he's one of the best players to ever play the game. And, he's good in with everybody important, but he sells it, and he doesn't get every call. He doesn't get every call, but he tries to sell every call. So he ends up
when he doesn't get the call, boy, oh boy,
he's going to get one later. And so the thing about it is like, that helps your team. And LeBron's LeBron. I mean, like, he's the style of player that, like, he creates a lot of contact and he goes at people. And a lot of times you got to foul him, stop him. So he's looking at it as like, I'm going to, like, if you're not going to give me the foul, I'm going to make your day miserable. And they all do it. I mean, like, look, like Tyrese Halliburton's a really good dude. Ty sells the heck out of everything. And if you ask Ty, he does not get one single call. And you're probably right. Like probably for the rate of times he's made contact on, like, he doesn't get a lot of calls, in part because he's skinny, because a lot of it is just what you notice physically. And you think, all right, that guy's skinny. That's why he got knocked off his line. That doesn't mean he got fouled. Like he gets that bias against him. LeBron gets the bias of, you're a big dude, you're charging at people, you probably did get fouled. Some guys are too big that they don't call fouls, and so it's all over the place, but like complaining and flopping, unfortunately, a huge part of the game because it's effective. Like you can change a game by pointing out to the ref that you got fouled and make sure he sees it. And so they all do it, and they're all making conversation, they're all selling, and they're all doing this, and they're all like, that's obviously a foul, and they're doing it because it works, and because you need to do it, because if you just play, go through and play like a Boy Scout, and you don't act like you're getting fouled, you're just never gonna get calls. So it's incentivized, and I know it's annoying for fans, and it is what it is, and it makes you think that these guys are bigger jerks than they are. They're not. They're just playing to the incentives. It's incentivized to show the guy that you got fouled and have a conversation with him and, be complaining all the time. Like it does. Unfortunately, it's the nature of the game. That's how you get, refs' eyes on it. They're trying to see 100 things, while they're out there. And, that's how you get them to notice you're getting fouled. That's why every coach looks like a lunatic on the sideline. They're all just trying to tell you, they're all just trying to sell it to the officials. And, again, like, I get why it's annoying as fans, and these basketball players, I always say they're the most exposed players, in the league, in major college sports, because like baseball, you get to hide in the dugout, basketball, football, you got a helmet on, hockey, you got a helmet on, basketball, you're out there and everybody can see your personality, and it's a smaller court and it's a smaller playing field, and like everything is very easy to hone in on. And so you can get very annoyed by this. Like, that guy, he's just a complainer. He's just a whiner. It's like, well, he's whining because it works, like that's the incentives. So, so yeah, LeBron oversells it sometimes, but it works.
Squeaky wheel gets the grease, man.
Mm-hmm. That's it. That's the explanation for everything I just said.
Dustin Dopirak with the Indy Star. He's got more duties coming up as the Pacers continue to play in the NBA playoffs. And can it continue? Can they extend that? They've got they'll have 3 opportunities to do that if needed. And we'll see. Dustin, appreciate you, brother.
Yep. Thanks, Jim.
You betcha. We've got more coming up. As Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Fresh Fork. Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes, and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Order online and let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthy way of living today. Just go to thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code radio20 and you'll get $20 off your first order. We've got more coming up. Travis Miller joins us next, right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Good morning,
Travis.
Sir. Morning. Got to represent the third Mr. Basketball in our beloved history.
What's that? Who's that?
Flory Badunga, third Mr. Basketball in the history of Kokomo High School.
Oh. Who are the other two?
I'll be right back.
Tom Schwartz, 1944.
Or save it. I was going to say we could save it.
Yeah, sure. And I know Kokomo is now one of like 5 schools, I think it is, with 3 or more.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Who has the most? I know it's an indie school. Lawrence North or Ben Davis. I would go with those two.
Anderson, Marion, North Central, and Washington each have 4.
There's nobody above that?
No. Those 4 have 4, and then Kokomo, Lafayette, Jeff, and Muncie Central have 3.
Oh, wow. I would have thought Lawrence North or somebody like that, or Ben Davis. Man.
I think the only one from Lawrence North was Odin.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. The players that they have had come through there.
Yeah, because Damon Bailey got it the year that you would think Eric Montross would have, but Damon Bailey being Damon Bailey.
Oh, my God. Now, see, that's funny. It's not really, because it's not that he didn't deserve it. My God, he's the all-time leading scorer in the state's history, and he took his team to the Final Four 3 out of 4 years, including his freshman and sophomore years. So,
yeah.
You know what? It was the right call. He deserved it, and not that Eric Montross was not a more successful player. Well, I don't. It's hard. He won a national championship at North Carolina, but I think Damon could have won a national championship at Indiana in '92 had they not ran into TV Teddy Valentine, losing that Duke game in the Final Four. But I love that about the state of Indiana, man. Sitting there having that debate. Well, the guy that came second was Eric Montross. You can go down the list and it's like, oh my God, look at the players who didn't win.
Yeah.
That would be mind-boggling.
Like, real quick, Travis, you got to be out by 10:25, right, Travis? Just to want to.
Yeah, about 10:25.
Okay, I'll make sure I pop in a few minutes before, just to remind Jim to go to break around that time.
But yeah, Glenn Robinson won, and so Alan Henderson.
Here we go. 5 seconds, guys. Sorry.
.com and get more to your door.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday, brought to you by Remax Realty and Cheryl Sizemore. For those of you in the market for a home in the Indianapolis area, reach out to Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. Her 2 decades of experience could be the difference between getting the home you want or not. Travis Miller from Boiler Upload joins us now, and I was out at AAU action this weekend, Travis, up in Westfield. For me, it would have been down in Westfield for you. Saw Micah Shrewsbury there watching his son play, and but several others, including Trent Sisley, who a dual recruit. This is an IU Purdue war. I know that Notre Dame's recruiting him. Micah Shrewsbury at Notre Dame's recruiting him and wants him. Michigan State, I don't think that they've been able to recruit him like they would probably like to. And Iowa. I don't know that they've been able to recruit him. It's hard. It's going to be hard. There's no way that say Iowa is going to beat Indiana or Purdue for his services. He's not leaving the state.
Yeah, I tend to think that, and maybe like you said, Micah Shrewsbury at Notre Dame has a chance because they're in state. But this is good old fashioned Indiana versus Purdue for one of the top recruits in the state. This is what you and I grew up watching, grew up seeing, and it's refreshing to see that. I love to see that because it kind of adds a little bit to the fan base. I remember as a kid. Seeing the 1991 national title game, state championship game between Brebeuf and Gary Roosevelt, and that was kind of the de facto third Purdue Indiana game that year since it was Glenn Robinson versus Alan Henderson. So I do think it's going to come down to Indiana or Purdue. Only Trent knows who's in the lead right now, but it's exciting. Both schools have made really good pitches for him and have been there from the beginning. And it'll be interesting to see who he picks. And right now, Purdue does not have any 2015 or 2025 commits. So they
don't have much room for him right now, to be honest with you.
They really don't. I think they may have like one scholarship available as of right now. And even then, it's going to be, a very tight class. But they're definitely looking at locking him down, and he would be the centerpiece of that class.
Speaking of Purdue has 6 freshmen coming in next year, and I think that's going to be in this day and age. My opinion is bring in 3 guys max, because you should have unless you have an abundance of seniors leaving, but I just don't think that recruiting freshmen, unless they are an elite freshman, is going to be the way to go when you can just easily through the portal grab an experienced guy that has elevated his game now, and just you're that way you're still bringing in guys that you can develop, but the rosters are going to be made up of guys because they're moving everywhere. And that's not going away anytime soon unless there's some kind of rule change. And let me tell you, the toothpaste is out of the tube, I think, in regards to all that. So, but we'll see how that ends up. But we've got a lot of all-star action coming up in the month of June, which will be fun because we'll get to see the juniors play the seniors. I wonder if they don't beat the seniors, to be honest with you. If they had Malachi Moreno on that team, I would put my money on the juniors.
It's going to be interesting. The same would be true with Jalen Harrelson, since he's up at La Lumiere now, because he would be a tremendous addition to the juniors as well. And I know both Indiana and Purdue are after him, along with a couple of other schools, obviously.
He's a big. He's got some bigger fish that are chasing him as well as Indiana and Purdue. He's a wanted man, but then again, he should be a 6'7" point guard. That doesn't come along very often, and he's good at what he does. But I did not get to see him in action this weekend. He was in Memphis playing. I did get to see Sisley, and of course, I saw Braylon Mullins and Malachi Moreno and Desmond Briscoe and Mark Zachary. That dude, Mark, is probably, everybody keeps saying he's probably going to end up playing in the NFL as a quarterback, which I'm like, he's kind of small, but he is an unbelievable point guard. He is fast. He is smart. He can pass. He's a gem, man. That dude is good.
Yeah, I saw him earlier this season against Zionsville, and you're the point guard on a team that's made 2 consecutive state championship games in the state of Indiana. You got talent. I don't care if that's your main sport or not. You got talent, and he's going to be very interesting to see which sport he picks, because I know some of these guys talk about, I'm going to try and play both sports at the next level. It doesn't happen.
Not anymore. No.
Not anymore. I know Malik Carr, when he had originally committed to Purdue, he was going to do football and was open to helping Matt Painter out for basketball, but it's like, okay, if you're doing football, you're not even available for basketball until December at the earliest, if not January. And then are you really going to plug a guy into the lineup that as a regular contributor at the start of the Big Ten season when when they haven't had any non-conference games to get used to the team? So that doesn't happen anymore. He's going to have to pick one sport, and it'll be interesting to see which one he chooses.
Yeah, it will be, because Kyle Nedrip, who with Indy Star comes on with us, each Wednesday, is all about him and as a football player, which I would think that playing basketball may be a little more longevity for that, but maybe the lure of playing football is too great for him. They list him as 6 foot. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know, but I'm not in this day. And I guess they have 6 foot quarterbacks in the NFL right now. So I guess he can, but man, most of the time the receivers, unless it's a slot back or something, these guys are 6'4", 6'5" now.
Yeah, it's hard to have that matchup on the outside. I mean, you look at David Bell when he was at Purdue, I think he was only listed at like 6'2", and with everything that he did at Purdue, he's still, kind of the 3rd, 4th, maybe even 5th guy at with the Cleveland Browns. So, like you said, you got to have that size, you got to have that talent, and it just shows you how difficult it is to make it in the NFL. It's insane.
Yeah, and we saw him this weekend. Like I said, Todd Leary was on with us earlier and talked about how he just stood out to him, and he made that team go. And he was a game changer. He really was. He's so fast. He has such quick hands. You can tell he's a step faster than a lot of the guys that he's playing with. So that is going to be something interesting to follow, as will the continued recruitment of Trent Sisley for both Indiana and Purdue. And when Trent decides to make that decision, it will be one that is looked at with anticipation. But I'm looking forward to these games coming up in June. I really am. The All-Star Week. That's going to be interesting to see. I think more people are going to will care more about the junior-senior game potentially than the Indiana-Kentucky game.
Yeah, I could see that, because there's a lot of talent on that junior team, and but you got the seniors. They've got Flory Badunga, Mr. Basketball out of Kokomo.
Oh yeah, I forgot. He's popping. What do they call it? Popping? When you do the popping?
Yep, got to do that. Representing my Wildcats. We actually have 2 All-Stars on the team. I think for the first time since the '60s, because we also have Carson Rogers, who is uncommitted, I believe, right now. I think he's got some Division II, Division III offers. I think St. Francis up in Fort Wayne is kind of his leading choice, but it'll be interesting to see how that team comes together. But like you said, they got to face off against a very good junior team. And, I know Purdue fans are keeping an eye out on Jack Benter and how he does. He was the runner-up to Flory, and like we were talking off there, Benter might have been Mr. Basketball in any other year, except for, being in a year where a guy like Flory Badunga comes through. And I know you were surprised to hear that Lawrence North has only had one Mr. Basketball in his history, and that was Greg Oden. Well, Eric Montross probably would have won it if he had not been a senior the same year as Damon Bailey.
Yeah. That's it's just weird. I also mentioned it would be amazing to compile a list of the guys that did not win it, that the greats that did not win it. Larry Bird is in that category. It would just be unbelievable to go down through there and like, really? Are you kidding me? But that's a testament to the talent that comes out of the state of Indiana and has for decades and decades. This didn't start yesterday. It's been going on since the 50s, man. So that's huge, but it's great to enjoy that. And you can tell that the the love is still there for high school basketball, even though they split it into classes, which it sucks, but at the same time, it's necessary. You cannot have like the indie teams, whether it's Lawrence North or Carmel or Ben Davis, at Crispus Attucks, those go against a 1A school now. That I just do not think that there's any way feasibly possible that a 1A school could put up a kind of a fight against the best 4A school. Now it's just the gap has just widened.
It would be interesting to see. I think there's a handful of teams that might have been able to hang around. I know I'm thinking of Bar Reeve down in Southern Indiana. They always play a very tough schedule. They're always at the top of 1A. You got Fort Wayne Blackhawk up in Fort Wayne that, say what you will about the private schools and who they recruit and everything else. But they've been able to hang around, Park Tudors.
You ain't trying.
Yeah. Park Tudor, look at the run that they had with Yogi Farrell. As a 2A team, they absolutely could compete with 3A and 4A teams. But I think it would be more interesting to see if they just had class basketball until the final 16. And you put the best 4 teams in the 4 classes together, put them in one 16-team tournament on a weekend, Thursday through Sunday in Indianapolis, and just have at it. I think that would be amazing to watch. But we don't always get what we want in life, unfortunately.
Absolutely. And so now in this off season for both Indiana and Purdue kind of had everything already set, so they didn't have to do anything. Indiana adding players through the portal, which they have added a ton of talent. So something I told somebody yesterday is I want to see the rivalry get back to where it is the way it used to be. It's kind of even as far as talent, and because if it's not, there's not a lot of fun in it. I know that fans on either side, they don't care if it's skewed to their way, to their liking. But for me, as someone, I want to see the battles. I want to see it be close. I want to see great games. I want to see that animosity, not to the level of fighting, but I want to see that. I guarantee you, I can talk to any Indiana or Purdue player from back in the days, and I'm not talking that long ago, but maybe I don't know how far back we would have to go, to be honest with you. But I during the days of Gene Cady and Bob Knight, they preached this. This was, I hate to use the word war because it's not war, but you know what I'm saying from a sports perspective. It was a battle. Bob Knight, boy, there was no game on his schedule that he couldn't stand losing more than that, except for maybe an NCAA game. But I don't know. It may not have been the case. And I'm sure it was the same for Gene Cady. He wanted to not only win and beat Bob Knight, they had their own rivalry. And it was a natural born competitive rivalry because you saw what happens once the lights were off and they weren't competing against each other anymore. They became friends, good friends. But let me tell you, they were not that back when the games were going on and when they were coaching against each other. And I loved it. I'm here for that. I'm here for that good old fashioned got to win this game. One thing that Mike Woodson's going to have to bring that to Indiana with so many guys that aren't familiar with it. And there shouldn't be any trouble doing that. It won't be the same. I'm not even sure it's the same on the Purdue side anymore, just because of AAU and people come from so many different places. Even the recruits that Purdue has coming in, even though they have a team full of Indiana kids. I know there are some that get it, but I just don't. It's just not. It doesn't seem quite the same to me anymore.
if you had to guess, how many games do you think have there been since Bob Knight, I don't want to say retired, but was no longer the coach of Indiana? How many games would you guess have there been that both teams have been ranked in the top 25 at the time of the game?
1.
5. And 2 of them were last year. 2 of them were last year because in the game in Bloomington, Purdue was number 1, IU was 21. The game in West Lafayette, Purdue was number 5, IU was 17. So really, last year was the only time that you really had that. And ironically, in that same time span, Indiana has won all 5 games where they were ranked, where both teams were ranked in the top 25.
Well, there you go. There's a trick. There's a bit of trivia for you, and a trick question. But great to see that. I'm sure from an Indiana fans are happy to see that. But I just want that back from a middle. I go down the middle of the road, and from a middle of the road, I want to see that back because I know I'm going to be covering it every year, and that's in football. I think football can get there now.
It would be interesting because football they've been more even in that neither team's been very good at times.
Both have sucked equally.
Yeah, I mean, but you had a good bucket game this past year. Honestly, both were right at the bottom of the Big Ten, but it made for an entertaining game. But you mentioned the whole, what it means. I know, at least for me as a Purdue fan, you had last season Purdue won 29 games. They won the Big Ten by 3 games. It frosted me not only that did they lose to a 16 seed, they got swept by Indiana. It was the first time they'd lost at home to Indiana in a decade, and that kind of stuck with me in the offseason was it was a great season on paper. You still lost to Indiana both games.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that burned Purdue fans, but it'll be different next season. We'll talk about life without Zach Edey the next time around, and looking forward to that. What's up next for you?
Actually, talking about Indiana and Purdue, huge baseball series in West Lafayette this weekend. First place in the Big Ten on the line. You got Purdue is currently tied with Illinois at 11-4. Indiana is a game back at 10-5, tied with Nebraska and Michigan. So it's got Big Ten title implications here. Purdue has only won the Big Ten title twice in baseball, and it was in 2012 and 1909. So wow. You got to go back a long way for that first title, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes down. I know Purdue has had record crowds before when Indiana has been there. Alexander Field's a great place to watch some baseball, so if you get a chance, get up there and at least see one of those games because it's going to be competitive. Indiana swept all 3 games last year in Bloomington in convincing fashion. I think they scored 26 runs in one of the games. They had double-digit runs in all 3 games. So Purdue looking to flip things around, and one player to watch for them is Luke Gaffney, who has a very good chance of being the freshman in the year in the Big Ten, if not the player of the year in the Big Ten. He is second in hitting with a 4.12 average. He has 11 home runs, 2 off the league lead, and he leads the Big Ten in RBIs with 60. So he's powering Purdue to a really good year, and the winner of this weekend's series has a leg up to make the NCAA tournament. So I'm excited to see it. I think it's going to be great. I love college baseball, and it's good to see Purdue and Indiana have a really meaningful series this late in the season.
It would be very important and fun to keep up with, and we'll be on it. But looking forward to it next week, man. Hope you have a great rest of your week.
Yep. Thanks for having me, Jim. I appreciate it.
You betcha. Travis Miller from Boiler Upload joining us here, covering all things Purdue. You can go to Boiler Upload and hit that up. Don't forget, brought to you by Boost Fundraising. Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. They've got periods after each letter there, so I guess that means you have to add a period on each one. But we're back with more after this. We're going to hear from Liam, or not Liam. I wrote that down. I'm going to talk about Liam McNeely, but we'll hear from Trent Sisley, from Braylon Mullins, Malachi Moreno from this past weekend, and their AAU outing as well. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market.
Hey, you'll have to give me a few minutes for the other two. I thought you only needed Braylon earlier, but I do have the Braylon one available already. Let me see if I missed it. Oh, I did. Yeah, sorry. I haven't looked at my phone at all. I do see your text. It's my fault.
What do you have for Mullins?
It's the question you asked earlier about, or you brought it up earlier with Todd about being able to get potentially all three of the guys to go to the same school.
Perfect. Excellent. You are perfect. I am humbled by your perfectness. You are a mind reader. Holy crap.
All right, 30 seconds.
In Bloomington, and is your one-stop shop for high-quality meats, bakery items, and now fresh seafood. Chop Shop Market and Table has the largest selection of in-house made products around and everything you need to make a gourmet meal at home. Or pick out a tomahawk steak or a grouper filet and enjoy it to perfection in Chop Shop Steakhouse. Chop Shop Market and Table, a part of the Wild Food Group, is your butcher, baker, and fish house, no matter where you live.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville and Evansville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, on this Monday. I hope you are doing well. Had a great weekend. Busy one for me as usual. And don't forget, though, brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville for all of our Southern Indiana folks. Bubba's 33 offers a fun atmosphere and a full menu of delicious food that's made fresh daily. From their signature ribeye, seasoned salmon, garlic knots, large salads, and so much more. Like I said, all made fresh every day, and you can tell that's a fact. Whether you're bringing the family, the team, or meeting friends in the bar, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville is the place to be with over 50 big screen TVs. It's a great spot to watch the games. Located right off of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Pizza, burgers, beer, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Welcome back. It was a busy weekend as I was up at Westfield watching the AAU action going on. There was so much going on, you can't catch it all. I did run into our old friend Keegan Nicholson, John Boy, FYI. I'm sitting there shooting some highlights, and then he walks up and says something, and I was like, hey, it was so awesome to see him. He's left the nest. He was formerly with the Hoosier.com and is now over in Cincinnati, where he's from, working for 247, I believe. But just great to see him. I didn't get to see him after that because it was so much going on. But yeah, awesome to see him, and I need to send him a text. So
he gets busy down there in Cincinnati. I still follow him on social media, and he's all over the Bearcat beat.
This guy has done a remarkable job. I'm telling you, he was great when he was with us. Just miss him so much. I can't tell you. It was a great one. So if you, give him a follow. What the hell? And if you're a Twitterer and you're not giving me a follow, please do so at Jim Coyle ISB. And don't forget to subscribe to the Indiana Sports Beat Radio YouTube channel. So you can always get everything and never miss a thing, like the highlight reel that will be coming at here soon from this past weekend. I'm trying to put all of that stuff together and just run it, not in any particular fashion. It's just a showing off a lot, but it's such a difference seeing these guys in person and up close and seeing their skills, seeing what they're able to do, seeing what they have to go through. And sometimes it's hard to stand out on an all-star team, but it's also, you can see the IQ in these players and not forcing things. I'll use Indiana Elite as an example. They're the Adidas team, 3SSB team from here, coached by Mark Fox. Does a incredible job, and they're loaded. Like I said, they've got some great players. Desmond Briscoe on that squad as well, and he's a man. I mean, he's a freaking man. He's minimum 6'8", if not 6'9", and thick. The dude is, oh boy, he's gonna be fun to watch. This year, it's I can't believe these guys are still in freaking high school. Some of them, it's like, wow, you can see the talent, and it's awesome. Todd talked about Braylon Mullins, and that was my first time seeing him in action too. And I hate over talking about this because it starts to sound like it's a thing when it's not. But I only mention it because it's what he's able to accomplish on top of that. When we say, oh, he needs to, put some mass on, he's not skin and bones or anything by any stretch of the imagination. As a matter of fact, I would think that, look, he's probably got a little more on him than I did when I was at that age in high school. It's hard. I could have eaten anything you put in front of me, and it wouldn't made a lick of difference. My metabolism was that high, and these guys are out there burning stuff off playing basketball. It is hard to put on mass when you burn that many calories. So, man, lots going on. Appreciate it, Robert. Yeah, we tried to do that, and we got more. Like I said, a lot more coming. Up here on the Indiana Sports Beat Radio YouTube channel, we'll have a highlight reel. But first, it'll go up to the premium members of the Hoosier.com, where if you're also not a member or a subscriber, why not? It's less than $10 a month, and you've got the premium boards where everybody is in there chatting it up. You can go on there and make fun of me, and get some great coverage. It's all that they do is cover Indiana athletics. So, and the focus is purely and primarily on that. And it would be greatly appreciated just go to thehoosier.com and get signed up today. Football is kind of in the hiatus right now. Basketball has not gotten there yet, and it really won't because of the AAU picture, because of the impending commitments. That's going to be a continued thing forward. But I was able to talk to all three of these guys over the weekend, and here's a little something from that. First off, Braylon Mullins, getting to see his game, and he's going to be, or already is, but I mean, he is going to be a really, really good point guard. This guy has got a lot of tools in his box. He's got length. He's got athleticism. He is a good shooter, but he will try to take it to the rim and dunk on you. And I love that. He wasn't just trying to dunk the ball. He tried to dunk on people more than once. And that just shows a lot of moxie. It shows all kinds of things. And the big question, IU's recruiting all three of these guys. Purdue was recruiting Trent Sisley in addition to that, and that's where that battle's going to be. Malachi Moreno lives in Georgetown, Kentucky, which is right next to Lexington. So, of course, new coach Mark Pope will continue to recruit him. And now that John Calipari is at Arkansas, he is going to continue to recruit him. So that has opened up 3 avenues for Malachi Moreno. The choice of where he goes, I don't know. I think that winds up being that one winds up being a battle between Kentucky and Indiana just because of proximity. But I would guess Arizona is going to throw some money at him because he's also
you mean Arkansas, not Arizona.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. Thank you, John. Arkansas got that chicken money, baby. Got that chicken money. I wish we could play a clip from Seinfeld, because wasn't that the place where George got traded to work?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not a big. I mean, I think I like Seinfeld, but I've seen of it, but I don't recall enough of it to be able to quote it like most people.
Well, we've got clips from all 3 of these guys. First of all, Braylon Mullins, because they've talked about this. It's not something that's a constant conversation, but it has come up. Now, and I talked about this with Todd earlier. You don't see it a lot. As a matter of fact, how often do you see it? When's the last time you saw it? Especially now. That would be a great recruiting class. And that's just not where the focus by a lot of teams are. But let's hear what Braylon Mullins had to say in regards to the possibility of all 3 of these guys landing at the same place at the next level.
I mean, we talk about it on times. I mean, we've had 2 weekends where we've brought it up to each other, but we're trying to get an official visit together. And I feel like if we could keep that bond going, well, who knows what will happen? We can all go to the same college if that goes.
Trying to get an official visit together, that is for Indiana fans, that has to be a very, very positive thing. They've all been on visits to Indiana. I know that, as a matter of fact, I think that they were all on an unofficial visit at the same time at Indiana. But the unofficials are not nearly the same as the official visits, where the schools do so much more. So also Trent Sisley, Southern Indiana, from Heritage Hills High School, just one of the most sought after players in the state, the 6'8" wing from Heritage Hills, like I said, who had a great weekend, scoring in double figures from inside and outside, knocking down 3-pointers, battling in the paint, putting up goals and going to the free throw line with an and one, hitting his free throws, just doing all of the things that you want to see. Let's hear what Trent's response to that was.
We haven't talked about it a whole lot. Just joked around with it a little bit. But, we all could if we wanted to.
What would that
Much simpler answer.
Trent is
Low-key
much
answer.
simpler. Let me tell you, if you'll listen to all of his interviews, he's very mild spoken. He doesn't say a ton. Great kid from a great family. And but yeah, he's I think that part of that is because he's going to be torn when it comes down to make his decision.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this is an IU Purdue thing, and it's something where he probably can't go wrong in either way, but you're still going to feel like that.
Yeah. But before we wrap this up, let's go ahead and get Malachi Moreno's response, and then we'll call it a day.
Yeah, Coach Walsh actually calls me every week, and he preaches about he wants to get the big three up there, me, Trent, Bray, and he says, I'll be at the 5, Trent will be at the 4, Bray will be at the 2, and we'll be the best freshman trio in the country. That's what he always tells me.
There you go. So that has definitely been a conversation, not only amongst those guys, amongst the guys that are recruiting them. So there you see it. Let's see. Oh, well, I guess we've got a minute left here to wrap things up. We'll have more on that, but like I said, they're going to have a highlight reel up on the YouTube channel and at thehoosier.com, and go subscribe to thehoosier.com today. Do that today. If you're an Indiana fan, go subscribe to thehoosier.com so we keep that content coming, all this content coming to you. Without it, it's nearly impossible. So please support those who bring it to you. I know everybody wants everything for free these days, but it doesn't work that way. Big thanks to Greg Ristow, as always, from the ISC Sports Network, Todd, Leary, the Todd father. And I meant to say earlier, someone had a great, what would be a great slogan for him. And I'm going to send this to him, as a matter of fact. The Todd father, giving you a shot you can't refuse, or giving you a jumper you can't refuse. I like that. It was funny. It was good. It was quick. But I wanted to give the person credit who actually said it, but I'll have to find that and do that later. Got to see Mr. Robinson and Xavier Robinson this weekend. Great seeing those guys. Saw so many people, and we'll talk more about that tomorrow as well. But until then, big thanks to you guys. Without you, we have no reason to be in here. And John, the producer, for keeping us between the white lines. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports.